Welcome to Shadow Daddy Groupies, a podcast where we read fantasy books. We're Raven and Kelly. Get ready for us to bring you our unhinged book recommendations and even worse taste in men.
Hi, welcome to Shadow Daddy Groupies. I'm Raven.
I'm Kelly, and today we have a guest.
Hey,
John.
I'm John.
Manly John.
And today we are going to talk about Credence by Penelope Douglas. This is a book that Raven has been trying to get me to read for a long time. It's one of her favorites. And she decided that she wanted to bring on her friend John to read the book and talk about it with us. So that's what we're doing today.
You look so stoic, John.
I'm a stoic guy.
Okay, so usually we start our podcast with a 1 to 2 minute no spoiler summary, but I had a hell of a time writing this, and there's a lot of spoilers, and it's more of a review than a summary.
Oh, man. At least I'm not doing it.
So I almost asked Raven to do it because of the way this turned out. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe Raven will clip this out. All right, Credence. This book follows Tiernan, an emotionally neglected and abused 17-year-old whose parents just offed themselves a couple months before her 18th birthday because they just hadn't traumatized her enough at that point. Her new guardian is her father's stepbrother, who she has never met because the stepbrothers had not spoken in over 20 years, and how else would the author set up a book about incest without actually writing about incest? The uncle has two sons, one that is almost normal 22-year-old, other than he lives in a cabin in the middle of nowhere with his dad and his older brother Caleb, a man described by the main character and side characters as basically fully mentally handicapped to the point where he is not responsible for his own actions until about 75% of the way into the book, where miraculously his decision-making faculties have returned. Her uncle acknowledges multiple times that she is not in a place to be making big life decisions for herself, and yet still has sex with her about 3 seconds after she turns 18. And somehow we're supposed to think that's sweet and not completely creepy. She then turns around and has sex with her horny cousin and mentally handicapped cousin at the same time, even though she really doesn't want anything to do with Caleb, her mentally handicapped cousin, who earlier in the book she had to physically fight off so she wouldn't be sexually assaulted by him. So then Caleb decides that he loves her, and so the dad and the younger brother back off and just decide to give her to him. Then there are several temper tantrums where he runs off for long periods of time and then miraculously learns how to talk and express his feelings. So all is forgiven and they live happily ever after.
It's not my favorite book, but that sounds absolutely ridiculous. Oh, I feel
It
like
sounded more like an obituary than a summary.
I have secondhand embarrassment.
I had a really hard time writing this. Okay, anyway, so Raven, tell us about your favorite book.
I like Penelope Douglas's writing, and I think it was my favorite before high fantasy really got me. And I guess incest fantasy was my
Okay,
my thing.
I think I would have really liked this book if I was in high school before I went to therapy and worked on myself.
There's things in this book I wouldn't have known.
John, what did you think of the book?
Um, it was a hard read. It was a real hard read. Um, at like that in the beginning, the whole like uncle cousin in the cabin thing was like really hard to get past. And then once you started getting into like more of the story, that was like the least of my issues. It was really just like, I mean, kind of going like kind of what you said. It was like 0 to 100 real fast.
It's
And
very
yeah, it was quick. I mean, it was like, hey, I've never done this before. What if I do all of it right?
I just want to say that's how all of the women books kind of go when they're virgins. They literally start with no experience and do it all in one sitting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to say that she's a virgin at the beginning of this.
Yeah. There was there was a couple like weird plot holes that I kind of like just brushed by. And then what we were kind of talking about earlier is uh obviously I'm not familiar with this author, but she seems to really pick a couple key terms or words and she hammers them in every other paragraph, every single chapter.
It's like a
It's like a
bio moment.
descriptive word or like just certain keywords. Like she says fisting probably 8,000 times and she's never using it correctly.
I never noticed that in when I read it.
Yeah, I mean the key ones were
Um,
anytime somebody grabs or grips or holds something, she says fisting. Um, anytime somebody walks away or towards them, she says foot fell. And then anytime she talks about her breast, she says, what was it? Points, hard points. Every time she describes them as hard points. And it was like every single time.
I actually read this.
I told you, I told you.
um, I you shouldn't been you should probably read Five Brothers if you
Oh, should I?
like
Yeah, I'll get
this.
right on that.
If you
I'll
really
add
like
that to
this,
my
read her other one. Five Brothers,
yeah.
okay?
I think that's what
I'll
I
add that to my library real quick.
thought that I was reading because I remember I was trying to describe this book to someone before I started reading it. I was like, yeah, my friend likes this book and I
You
think
can
she's gonna have sex with like five of her relatives or something.
you can describe them the same, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh. I actually didn't really have that big of a problem with the writing and the writing style. But the I almost DNF'd this book. Like every chapter for like the first 10 chapters, I almost texted you and was like, I'm not finishing this book. Um, but
I
yeah,
I
I
def
really had a hard time with like her getting together with the mentally handicapped brother. Like that really bothered me. I was
there's our
like, what
book
is
about
going on?
disability, Kelly.
I was like, what is going on right now?
And he doesn't speak, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mute.
Mute,
Uh,
sorry.
but also,
Purposely muted.
yeah, but in the beginning, they kind of just described him as mentally handicapped. So, like, they don't really, I just, anyway. Um, okay. So,
I read some reviews.
okay. Why don't you share some of the reviews?
Do you want the one stars or the ones that were rated highly?
Show us what you do.
Why don't you give us a mix?
I'm gonna do one stars. If a genie gave me three wishes, I'd use all three of them to make sure Penelope Douglas never writes another book again. Um, Three stars. Can y'all just imagine the awkward family dinners? Now, first of all, I really went in this blind, so blind that when I heard the male character was gonna have two sons, I didn't get that far. One star because the book ended and Jake and Caleb didn't die. This is really long. I'm not just as just stop talking shit about the book, which I thought was really funny. They wrote like an entire like essay on it.
I know some when we were looking up one stars last week on our favorite books, people wrote almost novel length reviews. They were like really intensely long, some of them.
Um, Substacks and AMP Bookstagram has anyone checked on straight people recently? Are they okay? And then did not finish 60% of it because I truly can't handle this girl fucking her uncle and cousins, let alone at the same time. My pesky morals are rearing their ugly head again. And then 5 stars from Jess. Sorry, I named Jess. Well, it's public knowledge. Listen, I don't know if I'm literally fucked in the head, but I loved this book. I devoured it. I will say that's probably how I felt when I first read it. And after Kelly's review, I feel so embarrassed.
There's
I
just
don't
a
know.
lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Leave it as a review on her thing, please.
No, I'm not doing that. I feel bad when I don't like a book, but I also can't lie and say I liked this book that much. So one of the reasons that I read this book was because Penelope Douglas has like a really big vocal following, and I know several people that are huge fans, including you. And I read one of her books that had come up on Book Talk a few times as like people's favorite book boyfriend. And I didn't like it that much. And then I told you about it, and you're like, oh, you got to read one of these two. Penelope Douglas, they're really good. Like you got to read one of
Oh
these
no.
two. That one's not the one to start with. And so I was like, okay, someday, but it's gonna take me a while to get around to it. So anyway, I've
I
tried two. I don't know if I'm gonna try a third one.
I I can't believe I recommended this.
I mean, this is what you're into. So,
It,
you know,
it's um
you
it's,
hyped this thing up so much too. And
it's
when I
so
got
fun.
the book
So
and I read the back, I was like, what have I
I
signed
didn't
up
do a
for?
reread.
And immediately she's like, we're not going to talk about it to the podcast. We're not going to talk about it. And I'm like, oh God, okay.
I
All
did
right.
not do a reread. So everything I all my opinions about this book are still the same until now. Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, so overall, out of 5 stars, Raven, originally, what would you have rated this book?
My cheeks are so red. Um, Probably a 4 months and months ago, maybe a year ago. And
Okay.
probably a 2 now.
John, out of 5 stars, what would you rate this book?
Oh man, that's a tough one. You know, I'll be fair, even though this is the only book of this style that I have read. It's definitely not the worst book I've read. So I will give it a 2.
Okay. All right. I'll
Just
give
to
it a
grade it.
2. I'll give it a 2. It's not like the worst written book I've ever read. It's just the content was just not my jam. And
I'm
yeah, so yeah.
I'm really curious what goes on in her brain when she writes books like this.
Mm.
Like, did she have like some ancestral trauma growing up, maybe? And I don't know. Sorry, I keep looking up, John. My book, I have a bookshelf, one of the many above my head. But
I mean, I try never to kink shame. So I know there are people out there that have incest kinks. It's just not for me.
I
It's not
mean,
my thing.
there are a lot of 5-star
Okay, you
reviews.
know what? One redeeming quality. In this book, her uncle did not make her call him daddy, like the last incest book you had me read.
Oh, that's rough.
The uncle, hey, that
That's a low
was
bar. That's a real low bar.
The
the
last
step
incest
uncle.
book that she had me read was also like a step uncle or something, and he immediately made her call him daddy. And I was like, nope, not for
All right.
me. Nope. I do
So I'm
not
seeing
have
a
a daddy
theme.
kink.
I'm seeing a theme in the recommendations from Raven's side of this table.
Oh.
Honestly, like I'm for real. Like once you get halfway through, it's to me that was like the least of my worries. I'm telling you, I got real hung up on just small details when it came to the book. Aside from like, I remember specifically she said she'll be 18 in 10 weeks, and he said the snow will come
Bet.
in 8. Right?
Oh yeah. And then it came down the day of her birthday, right?
Yeah. But it didn't snow for 2 weeks after that. So the snow came in 10 weeks, her birthday came in 8. So I was like, did I miss a part where the winter was held back or
You-
where did the timeline get mixed up?
Not just, it's so weird because it's
The weather
a
just didn't cooperate that winter, apparently. It just came
It worked
late,
in their favor. It worked in their favor.
sort
wasn't
of.
it in a truck?
Huh?
A truck?
Oh yeah, they had sex for the first time in a truck, which I mean,
She had sex
oh,
in a
that
couple
was the
trucks.
other thing is I was trying to figure out the leg position, like
That's
in,
okay,
and
Shane.
there was a couple
Shane.
times I was like, does that
How big
even
is
work?
this truck?
Big
I
is
was
this truck? That's exactly what I was
I was saying a
thinking.
How
single
big is this truck?
cab old Chevy.
The way
No,
they
because he
were
said
doing
something about
stuff, it
her
it felt
leg to
like
the
it had to have
front
been like a
seat.
semi.
There had to have been a back seat because she said something about like hanging her leg in the front seat. Like, I, yeah.
I mean, they got money, so it's gonna be at least like a 4 door.
I was just thinking about the successful times I've had sex in a car, and whatever position they were trying is not one that I found worked. So I was like, I don't know about that one.
It's
Also, I will say this author was like real hell bent in beating the fact that this girl was rich into your head.
Hmm.
oh, because her
Because
parents,
she
yeah.
was like, I remember the one part in the beginning, and I was just rolling my eyes, and it was like, I remember when my dad would watch his 6 flat screens on the wall while getting ready for work, and I'm like, okay. And then it was like, and then my mom would have her hairstylist and makeup artist, and I'm like, okay, we get it. You're rich. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, poor little rich girl,
Did
right?
did they really off themselves? What happened to them?
The
Yeah,
dad had cancer, and then they just kind of murder suicide or double suicide or whatever.
yeah, they kind of insinuated it was a double suicide. Like he didn't have long to live, so they just decided to off themselves. And that was like part of the whole she's super traumatized and why she's willing to have sex with her cousins
I
because she went through this horrible trauma where her parents don't love her and they killed themselves and totally forgot that she was even at the house.
I am
Like,
convinced Penelope Douglas writes some of her books on Ambien
oh,
because that's insane. Insane. Let's add double suicide with brain cancer to the incest pack and the
Yeah.
mentally handicapped.
yeah, that was the other thing that I didn't really like is we're supposed to the the guy has these two sons, right? That he's supposedly taking care of, except he's kind of the worst dad in the whole world. And he's the one that's going to be her guardian. Okay.
I mean, I don't want to do any spoilers, but you were
Oh,
talking about DNF moments.
yeah.
Uh, movie night was movie night was rough for me. I was like, what sort of sideshow family is this? Where they're just like,
Where they're all masturbating together.
yeah, they're just like, this is what we do when the snow comes, and they just all start cranking their hogs.
I actually thought about asking someone that grew up with brothers. I'm like, is this normal? Like, do you and your brothers just watch porn and masturbate in the same room together? Because I would never do that with my sister. No.
With your dad.
Or my dad. Like,
Oh
ugh.
my God.
Ugh. Um, yeah, that
Yeah, the
was
parts like that were real confusing for me. That and then like I mean, I remember my first time and there was not any sort of aggression like that going on. There was just she was like, "Yes, this is my first time," and he's just like, "All right, it's we're going all the way."
oh yeah, that was the other thing. I was like, in most books that have a virgin female character and the male is not, like they usually are pretty nice to her. And he was not nice to her. I was like, ow, ow. I was like, can we slow down here for a second?
Yeah,
That sounds like it hurts.
we just read a book and they're like two 16-year-olds and yeah, it's normal to losing their virginity, but they were very experienced 16-year-olds.
Oh
It was
yeah.
insane. But yes,
Um,
but not aggressive.
but the uncle was a little aggressive for her first time.
Uncle
I
Dad.
agree.
I guess
Yeah,
someone
I
did
mean,
call him daddy. Those kids.
He was kind of a terrible dad.
I don't think they ever referred to him as dad.
Uh,
I think
there
in
was
Caleb's journal he referred to him as Jake.
what was the other brother's name?
Noah.
No,
Caleb. Yeah.
Noah. Okay, there was a point where the uncle was being kind of mean to her, and I think he turned to his and said, "Dad, like chill out or like leave her alone or something." And she like ran
Oh
upstairs
yeah, yeah,
crying.
probably right.
I think that
There's
was
another
like,
instance where the after the tabloid came out, um, Noah said, like, I would do the same thing for my dad.
mm,
You guys,
yeah.
I feel like you guys are traumatizing me, and I've had like I haven't
It's your
even read the
favorite book.
book.
It's your
I feel
I
favorite
like
book.
mean,
I know.
the
I
sex
saw
scenes were in general, they weren't like
like
that badly written. There was a lot of sex in the book.
wasn't there a lot of shower scenes?
Yeah, there's a lot of
I feel
showers and a
like the
lot of trucks.
shower was
Mm.
the shower was like a, a big role play moment.
Was a secondary character. Yeah. I can't remember how old Noah was. He was like 20 or 21 or 22 or
Yeah, I think
something.
he was like
But
20.
but he was drinking a lot for being 20 years old.
They all were. They were all like they would have breakfast and then do like a shot of like tequila.
It's like shower beers. Seems like a lot of
River,
drinking.
River Ranch kind of folk.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, backwoods.
yeah. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta be a local to know that one.
Yeah, that went
Uh
over my head a little.
yeah.
It wouldn't be
There's
surprising.
yeah, it was anytime something happened, it was just like, I'm gonna drink a beer or I'm gonna do a shot, something like that. But I mean I don't know, a
This,
lot of grooming going on in the
yes.
beginning. So much grooming going on.
Imagine being
And
stuck
then
in this house with them,
yeah, well,
a
that's
virgin.
crazy excuse. That's a diabolical excuse. Um,
Like we can't control ourselves for 4 months. Okay.
uh, she couldn't control herself anytime she met a new guy.
That's
I
true.
mean, she goes to that pond and then that dude shows up, which I cannot remember that guy's name. The guy that set the pond.
Terrence or something?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. The other guy,
The one with the
the antagonist,
scoreboard
I guess.
wall. Yeah.
Um, yeah, like he shows up and then she's just like, "What's up? Let's go."
Let's go right here at the pond.
Yeah. And like, like first time she meets Caleb, she's like on the fence. And then the first time she gets affection from Jake, she's fully going in, right? Then the movie night, she's all about it. It was like every time.
Wasn't she a virgin in movie night?
What's
Yeah,
that?
she's still virgin on movie night.
Yeah, it's her 18th birthday.
Hmm.
So,
No, happy 18th birthday. You want to see what I can do? Jerk
I
off
mean,
party.
I'll give props to her that although I thought it was gonna happen, she did not write a 1-on-3 scenario in this book.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I think they do that. Do they do that in Five Brothers?
Well, there's
Well, there's
5 of
five
them.
brothers.
So, I mean, I was glad that that wasn't in there. Um, you know,
That would
but
have been awkward, but I guess you can't really get any worse than it was. No, you could.
I mean, they did seem very jealous of their dad for how willing they were to to do it together. I don't know. Like, is there
no.
that much of a difference?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, what was it like after the first time she hooked up with Jake, he specifically said that he wants his sons to be happy.
Yeah, that was creepy. He's like, well,
And this
I guess
was,
if it happens, it happens.
yeah, and this was after movie night.
Like a shiny
So like we
toy for
already know what
them.
he's talking about.
Yeah.
Well, this was a great read, John. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. I will.
No, no problem.
Before I
John.
read something like that again, and recommend it to anyone, I'm gonna have Kelly sum it up for me, like you just did. So can you just copy and paste that so I can put it as a review, and so I can
No.
change my 5-star review.
Um, John, what kind of books do you usually read?
I would say mostly um
The Yeti one.
you should read that one. I'm sure
Oh
that one's
God,
good. I
no!
haven't read
I'll
it,
share
but
with Kelly.
the reviews do look amazing. Mostly like I would say probably like horror.
Okay.
I've read a lot of like H.P. Lovecraft stuff. I mean, not the best guy, but I like
Mm.
his style of writing. I like his descriptions of things. He's very poetic when he describes stuff. And I just really like the way that he kind of puts you into that situation and just kind of goes over the top. And some of it, I mean, he's got some lines where it's almost like he's rapping the
Mm.
way that they kind of like roll together.
Hmm.
Um, so I just really like the way that he describes stuff. And obviously he's super influential author and everything. Um, yeah, I mean mostly horror stuff. Nothing like super crazy gory, but more like supernatural horror, I guess you could say.
I
Mm.
need a really good horror book. I haven't read a good one since probably Anne Rice or Stephen King, or I don't know who the good horror writers are.
I'll send you something. There's a lot of like really small independent people that are putting out really good stuff. I don't remember their names because I'm terrible at remembering stuff like that,
I don't care for
but I know the names of
demonic.
like their stories.
I don't want demonic, but more like haunted. Not haunting Adeline, haunted.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of authors that are doing like shorter stories and then they're doing anthology series. So you'll get like one book with like 5 or 6 stories they're all completely different, but they're all still that kind of supernatural, scary, spooky vibe.
Hmm.
Um and those are really cool because you can kind of burn through those in like a couple hours.
Did you ever read
And
Creepypasta?
yeah, yeah, there's some really good ones on there. Like Left Right Game is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, there was one I read on there that I was at work and I was like, you gotta read this. Tell me what you think of this. You gotta read this. And I was going to everybody and I was like, just read this story. Just read this story. And it was, I mean, I read it now and I was like, eh.
There's
Stop recommending things, Raven.
yeah. Yeah. I'll send some stuff to you that you can check out in your free time. And but yeah, I mean if you're reading like creepypastas, Left Right Game is one of the coolest ones. It's also one of the longest. It's a very, very long read, but it is very cool.
Yeah.
There's no incest in it though, so you may not be into it.
You think maybe that's because I didn't grow up with siblings?
I don't know.
Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe. Or what about cousins? Did you grow up with cousins?
A lot of them.
Uh,
Hmm.
okay. So
Well,
overall, we've decided it's about a 2 star. And then
Ravens.
what would you rate the female main character out of 5 stars, Raven? Hello?
Silence is deafening.
I don't even, I don't know. Maybe a three.
Okay.
A three for her innocence.
John, what would you rate this female main character out of 5 stars?
Oh man. Terrible decision making skills.
Terrible
The
decision making.
worst decision making skills ever.
But if you put
Fortunately,
her as like a 17-year-old going through a lot of trauma,
That kind of trauma, I mean, that'll do it to you.
I
yeah.
mean,
I
I
mean,
I feel like some of her decisions made sense based on who she was as a character. A lot of people use like sex as a coping mechanism.
I feel like yeah, but that's usually people who aren't virgins.
Yeah. I was gonna say that
It's
doesn't
hard to
solve
use
any of
something as
my
a coping
problems.
mechanism when you've never done it before.
You can't be a sex addict if you've never had sex.
Yeah, see?
So I think it's weird because a lot of women, we read about women, like books that women write, and they always write about virgins. And
We
why?
do read a lot of female authors. I think I've only finished a book by a male author once in this whole year. And
Uh,
I'm at almost 80 books this year so far.
yeah, yeah. The
Um,
thing that Raven was talking about, like, I feel that's what I get for the most crap about is like if this was 5% of a real situation, you would be appalled,
I would
right?
probably call 911 if this was.
Yeah, of exactly. Like if this was happening to you, you're calling the police. If this is happening to somebody else, you're calling them so many names on the internet.
okay, that's totally fair, but that's also why we read and
Mhm.
immerse ourselves in things that are not real so that you can live out fantasies and such. Try not to kink shame over here.
Um,
Hey,
hey, shut up.
okay.
Um, the one that John was trying to give or recommended I read was like Seducing Sasquatch or whatever.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Raven also recommended a book to me about a woman who has a relationship with a sword, which I read.
Did
She
she?
has yet to read. Huh?
She did she do it with a sword?
Yes.
No
I mean,
way.
why wouldn't you?
No, she didn't.
The sword turns into a man.
Of course it
Oh,
does.
I mean, I guess that knowledge makes sense. No, I was thinking like because we read a lot of knife books. So
Knife play. Yeah.
I thought there was
No, it she
a
doesn't actually
hilt
have sex with the sword itself. She has sex with the sword after it turns into a man.
because it's taking to
Missed
the hilt.
opportunity. Oh, Penelope
But
says that like 50 times.
to the hilt.
Yeah, to the hilt. I'm gonna get
Over
a
the
bumper sticker that says
mounds,
that.
over the mounds, through the folds, to the hilt.
I think we have had an episode where we talk about
Back
our
to
least
the
favorite.
pearl.
Euphemisms. Euphemisms. Um, yeah, and To the Hilt is one of my least favorites.
Yeah, I think To the Hill is like at least 5 or 6 times in this book.
Oh man. Okay,
Well,
so
thank you,
I think that's
Joan.
the end of the episode. Thanks, John, for joining us.
Yeah,
Sorry it wasn't a better book.
Maybe in a year from now, I'll pick a book for you to read.
yeah,
You can come back on.
I can't wait.
Let's go ahead and start Akatar.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty
I'm not taking any
good.
more recommendations from Raven.
It- it's it's Kelsey's favorite.
Mm.
Kelly's
Okay,
favorite.
we'll see.
Well,
Yeah,
go
we'll
and
invite your wife on too next time.
yeah, and I
Oh,
don't think she would.
no, no, not a
Um,
chance.
well, go enjoy your girls' night. Thank you for
I think they
joining
left
me.
halfway through this podcast. I heard the garage close, so
Oh.
Well, thank
and now I
you.
think I hear her watching TV. So
Mm. All right. It was great to meet you.
Tell
Have a
your
great
thanks.
wife
night.
that I
Yeah,
said
thanks
thank
for
you for
having me.
letting you read incest porn
I
with
didn't
us.
tell her what it's about.
Well, now you can tell her.
You
Yeah,
should give her
yeah.
Kelly's summary.
I'll play it back when this comes out.
I'll copy and paste it to you.
Nice, perfect. I'll
Okay,
make sure to
good.
Um,
upload it to Amazon.
Kelly's words. Shadow Daddy Groupies podcast. Kelly.
oh, she's
Okay.
gonna come and track me down.
Well, good night. Thank you. Adios. I'll talk to you later. Send me more Sasquatch porn.
Okay, I'll let you know about those other ones too.
Can't wait. Bye.
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 I don't know how to hang you up. So you're